Every family has secrets, but some secrets are buried so deep, so carefully hidden behind locked doors and stern warnings that uncovering them changes you forever. This is the story of how a single summer visit to my grandparents' house turned into the worst nightmare of my life and how I barely made it out alive. This story was written by Horror Junkie 123, originally posted on r/nosleep. It's called Don't Look in Pappy's Room. Let's begin. I was 16 when my parents sent me to live with my grandparents for a month. Looking back now, I realized they just wanted a break from me. At the time, I told myself it was something else, anything else. But deep down, I knew the truth.
My grandparents lived in the middle of nowhere. No neighbors, no Wi Fi, no cell service. Just endless countryside stretching out in every direction, like the world had forgotten that place existed.
Grandma was warm and kind, the type of woman whose smile could fill an entire room. Pappy was different. Quiet, stern, built like a man who had spent his entire life doing things that required silence. He wasn't cruel, not at first, but there was always something about him that made me uneasy, a heaviness behind his eyes that I could never quite explain. 2 days into my stay, boredom drove me to the basement. It was everything you'd expect from a house that old: cobwebs, dust, a single light bulb swinging from the ceiling, like it was barely holding on. That's when I saw the door. A single wooden door at the far end of the basement, and nailed to it a handwritten note in thick, deliberate letters: "Stay out, Pappy." Something about those two words made my heart pound. Not from fear, not yet. From curiosity. The kind of curiosity that grabs you by the throat and refuses to let go. I crossed the dirt floor slowly, each step feeling heavier than the last. My hand found the knob. I twisted. Locked. Of course it was locked. I turned to leave and froze. My grandfather was standing right behind me, silent as a shadow. His hulking frame filled the entire doorway, and the look on his face sent ice through my veins. "What are you doing down here?" It wasn't a question. I mumbled something about just looking around. He stared at me for what felt like an eternity before he spoke. "Get out. I don't want to see you down here again." I didn't argue. I swerved around him and bolted up those stairs without looking back. That night, I woke up at an odd hour. I'd gotten a glass of water and was heading back to bed when I heard it, a low rustling somewhere deeper in the house. I crouched at the top of the landing, hidden in the darkness, watching. Pappy's shadow moved through the kitchen below. He paused, as if he could sense something. My breath caught in my throat, but he kept moving toward the basement. I followed. I don't know why. Every rational part of my brain was screaming at me to go back to bed, but I couldn't stop myself. I crept halfway down the basement stairs and watched through the darkness as my grandfather reached behind an old dusty painting propped against the wall. His hand emerged holding a rusted key. He inserted it into the lock. The door swung open, and in the brief flash of light that spilled out from that room, I saw it, crimson, splattered across the floor. I waited until Pappy left for the store before I made my move. "Going to get milk. Be back soon," he muttered, snatching his keys from the hook. The moment his truck disappeared down the dirt road, I was moving. I retrieved the rusted key from behind the painting. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely get it into the lock, but the mechanism turned, and the door swung open. Nothing could have prepared me for what was inside. Dried blood caked the floor in thick, dark layers. A metal work table lined the right wall, covered in tools: pliers, hacksaws, hammers, their blades crusted with flaky crimson. A corkboard covered the far wall, pinned with dozens of newspaper clippings and photographs. Missing people. Faces staring back at me with hollow, unknowing eyes. And then I looked left. A yellowed mattress sat in the corner of the room, and on it, I can barely bring myself to describe what I saw. A body, emaciated, maggots moving in and out of every opening, its eyes wide, its mouth frozen in a permanent, silent scream. The smell hit me like a physical force. I staggered backward and heard a sound that turned my blood to ice. Click. I turned slowly. My grandfather was standing in the doorway. A six-shooter aimed directly at me. "I thought you went to the store," I whispered. "Forgot my wallet," he said. His eyes were dead, empty, like whatever had once lived behind them had been replaced by something I didn't recognize. "You've seen too much, boy," he said quietly. "I didn't want it to come to this." The gunshot was deafening. For a split second, I felt nothing. Then the burning registered, a searing line of fire across my arm, a graze. I was still standing. "Arnold, what was that?" Grandma's voice floated down from upstairs. "Nothing, ignore it." Silence from above. And in that moment, a horrible thought crossed my mind. How much did she know? Pappy raised the gun again, this time aimed at my head. I didn't think. I ran. The bullet whizzed past my temple close enough that I felt the air move. I slammed into him with everything I had. He stumbled. The gun dropped. I leapt up the stairs, grabbed Pappy's spare keys from the hook, and crashed through the front door into the blinding daylight. His voice thundered behind me from somewhere deep in the house. "Get back here." I threw myself into his truck, threw it into drive. The left mirror exploded as a shot rang out, but I was already gone, flooring it, down that dirt road and away from that house forever. The police found them both at the house. Pappy still had the gun in his hand. The investigation that followed revealed the truth about my grandfather, a truth that 13 families had been waiting years to uncover. 13 confirmed victims, possibly more. I spent years in therapy just learning how to feel normal again. And sometimes, late at night, I still think about that basement, that door, that sign. "Stay out, Pappy." I really should have listened. This has been Stygian Lore. A huge thank you to Horror Junkie 123 for this chilling story. You can find the original post on r/nosleep, linked in the description below. If this story kept you up tonight, you're not alone. Stay safe out there, and whatever you do, don't go looking behind doors that were never meant to be opened.